Welcome classmates! Today is another episode of our segment here in Philippine Guild of Watercolorists infotainment series called Water and Technicolor, where we provide you with all the information and training for your skills development in terms of watercolor painting. Now I know that this is a second episode, and for those who have watched our previous episodes, I guess this one will be another one of those topics that we are going to learn some important skills and additional understanding when regards to, painting wet into wet. And this one could be a supplemental for those who have been used with this kind of method in painting, especially for those veteran artists out there. I know you must be watching. Well, for those beginners, it could be quite a problem when it comes to watercolor painting. And when there's a lot of water, sometimes we feel that there's a burden of laying down those colors. And why? Yes, it could be difficult, of course, when you're painting wet and wet, because you don't have any control of the... For this lesson, we are going to understand how the wetness of paper affects your paint that you apply in your watercolor painting. And of course, this could be one of those things that could lead you to familiarize more on your paper and on the time when it is proper to apply those strokes of paint, and of course to adjust for the matter, as in wait until it is dry to achieve what you want. So without further ado, let's go back to our tables, get your paper, your brushes and your paint, and let's start painting. Good day and welcome again to our lesson. In today's video, we are going to understand the wetness of paper and how it relates to the effects we can achieve with painting wet into wet. So let's get our brushes and let's start. In this exercise, you can use a flat brush, a round quill mop brush, or perhaps a regular round. The paint that we are going to use in this exercise is the same from the previous one, which is a Prussian blue from Daniel Smith. We also need a paper, and one such that of Bahong 200 GSM Academy grade is sufficient. We need it mounted on the board and fixed with a masking tape on the corner and edges. We will now begin by wetting the entire paper with a flat brush and applying moisture evenly on all the surface. On a saturated paper with water or soaked paper with water, we begin this exercise by painting a stripe of paint going from the top side to the bottom. In this condition of the paper, the paint spreads much further because there's a lot of moisture coming across and allowing the paint to spread. You can see here in the fast forward clip that the paint covers a larger area when spreading because there's a lot of water, and this allows the paint to move. After 5 more minutes, we apply a new stripe of paint, and in this time, you can see that the paint does not spread as much as the first. This is because there is still water in the paper but not as much as before. After a few more minutes waiting out, the surface of the paper becomes satin in appearance. Applying stripe of paint reveals that it still spreads, but it is very controlled manner. Seeing in the fast forward clip, you can see that the paint produces root-like protrusions in the corners, and this is because there is still water in its surface. When the paper begins to become touch dry, it turns into a moist kind. Doing a swatch reveals what you can achieve in this state. When the paper is damp and cold to the touch, applying a stroke of paint will reveal that the lines would have jagged edges. This is because there is still a little bit of moisture left in its core of the paper. When the paper is finally dry, applying a stroke of paint reveals the texture of the paper as it exhausts the load of the paint. from the brush. In this exercise, you can see that when the paper begins to dry from a very wet one, the spreading of paint is controlled, and this creates different variations and expressions on the spread of the paint in the paper. Different types and weight of paper also allow for a longer drying time, hence more control on the spread of the paint. And this also allows us to express different effects and transitions of paint as it begins to dry from a very wet one to a dry one. I hope you find this lesson valuable and informative. That was fast, classmates. Did you watch thoroughly or did you paint along? Well, you know, it could be enlightening for those who have been new to watercolor painting, and for those who are not used to wet-into-wet technique or painting process, this could be an eye-opener, isn't it? Well, let's get those brushes and let's do practice. And for those who have watched our previous episodes and this one, thank you so much for staying in tune to WaterNTechnicolor. And for those waiting for our third episode, we're gonna dig deeper into our foundations so we can get better into watercolor painting. And of course, in the future episodes, we're gonna do some real discoveries, real paintings. And what can I say? It'll be more exciting. So stay tuned, stick around, and let's get painting.